just a couple of days, but never want to forget to record. So go ahead and hit that. And we are so happy that you are here with us today. My name is Summer Rothrock. I use she, her pronouns from the Office of Parent and Family Resources. And we're going to spend some time this hour together today, hearing a little bit from our interim dean of students, hearing about some things that you may need to know as Pitt families to really best support your student. Sorry, I couldn't get the slide to advance. It was the multitasking wasn't happening all of a sudden. All right. We're going to hear a little bit about what to do in those first couple of weeks, how you can best support your student. We're going to look ahead to some key dates that you might want to mark down on your calendar. And then we're going to really dedicate a bulk of our time to a panel of experts that we have from around the university to answer your questions. So make sure that you can find the Q&A feature. You'll be able to type your questions in there. If you know you already have questions, you can go ahead and start putting those questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to them as soon as we start the panel. You don't have to wait until the panel starts. But when that panel starts, I will ask the panelists, will turn on their video and they'll be able to answer your questions directly. But first, I am really excited to welcome our interim dean of students and assistant dean for student experience, Lorraine Craven, to tell us a little bit about student affairs and what to expect in those first couple of weeks. Lorraine.
Yes, thank you, Summer. Thank you for that introduction. Welcome, Pitt families. So whether it's your first student or fourth student, it's always a new experience and of course, new emotions. So check in with yourself. I hope you're all doing great. I hope move-in went well and smoothly. I hope the rain held out for you as you were moving your new student in. But this afternoon, I would like to just say a few words about our approach to the work of student affairs. And then we'll do a little activity together before the panel Q&A to answer some of your questions, which I'm sure that you have. But as Summer mentioned, feel free to add in your questions in the chat at any time. So first, at Pitt, we take a student-ready approach to engaging our students. So what does that actually mean? High schools often talk about preparing students to be college ready, and on our end, we talk about how we need to be student ready. We know that not all students come to us with the same life or educational experiences, and we take it as our role to meet them where they are, to help them navigate this new institutional system and to work to make a big place feel small. Part of how we do that is by scaffolding expectations. We don't expect our first year students to be able to manage as much as our graduating seniors, and we treat them as emerging adults. To give you an example, I was a first generation and out-of-state college student when I attended the University of Buffalo as a student athlete. I really didn't know what to expect at college or how to navigate that huge unfamiliar environment. And it was the staff and faculty of the Educational Opportunity Program that really helped me get acclimated to college and figure out how to ask questions and get answers. They made it possible for me to be successful. And by the time I graduated, I was comfortable there and more capable. We also believe that our job is to be the support for the support system, which is all of you here joining us today. Families are often the first to know when something is going on with their student, and we are here to support you as you support your student. We're honored that you and your student have chosen Pitt and that you've allowed us to be part of your family as your student is transitioning to college. That might mean directing you or them to the appropriate office or connecting them with a program or resource. At the end of this event, Summer will share a slide with contact information, and I encourage you to reach out and stay in touch with us. We do really want to hear from you. We also believe that the work of student affairs is to help you transition from coach to cheerleader. Up to this point, you've been more of a coach for your student, directing them, telling them the plays to make, making decisions for them, and now you're transitioning to more of that cheerleading role. They're learning how to make decisions on their own. They're individuating, beginning to separate more from you, becoming their own individual, and your job becomes one of cheering them on from the sidelines. So it can be hard to let go of that coach role. Finally, I want to mention one last thing before we move into a brief interactive piece. This year we have a theme of the Year of Discourse and Dialogue. As a state-related institution of higher learning, we have a responsibility to uphold the First Amendment principles and academic freedom. So we'll be providing opportunities for students to learn and grow in their capacity to dialogue with others, especially with ideas they may disagree with. We encourage students to listen, to approach conversations with an open mind and heart, and to think critically and carefully about what they believe. It is a time of intellectual change for them, and we want to create the space in which they can have meaningful conversations in which all voices and all viewpoints can be heard. We have a lot of resources available on our freespeech.pitt.edu website, and I encourage you to check that out. All right, so I mentioned that coach to cheerleader space. Let's have a little bit, maybe a practice. So I want to have us practice how we can become those cheerleaders for students rather than a coach. And one way we like to do this is to ask you to imagine or share the first text that you may have already received from your students. If you want to drop those in the chat, that'd be great. And we can use those as some examples and we can walk through what those responses could look like. So I'll give folks a few seconds here to see if anyone wants to drop that first text that they got from their student, maybe even before you left campus after dropping your student off, or as they've gone through welcome week so far. And I'm going to ask my colleague Serena on the end, has anyone dropped anything? So I'm not seeing any on my end. Summer, do you have anything that you're seeing? I'm not sure if I'm in the right space to be able to respond accordingly.
I don't see any, but one that we
Oh,
hear all, oh, got one. Okay.
okay.
One that we hear all the time, Lorraine, is my roommate already has friends and I'm not meeting anyone.
Yes, that's a good one. So we have had a full week of welcome week activities, and that continues through this weekend. So I would definitely encourage your students to get out and about. We have on Sunday our campus club and organization fair. Devon will share this a little bit in the panel, but we have over 800 student organizations on campus, and there's definitely ways for our students to get involved, and we do want them to get involved outside of the classroom. So please encourage them to attend the weekend events if they have not done so already, and make connections in their residence halls, make connections at those meetings or at those events that are occurring, and also get involved academically. We have a lot of academic club and organizations that are helping students whether that be get internships, whether that is to make connections with faculty and out of classroom opportunity. We really hope that you do, that our students do get engaged in those.
I
We
just
have
realized
one.
that, I was gonna say that the chat is disabled, Lorraine, but we're getting some really good ones in the Q&A. I
I'm
love this
seeing
one.
that, yes.
Okay, this one from Christina. I love you so much! Exclamation point. I've been waiting to get lunch for 2 hours. I'm just in my dorm. I don't have any friends. So that's right on cue with the one we just talked about. We've got one. Where did you put my vitamins? My roommate is quite difficult, negative, and antisocial. I don't know how to deal with it.
Yes, so this is where we really hope that our students are connecting with our RAs. We do have our Res Life folks that are part of the panel that can speak to this a little bit better than I even can, but we want our students to connect with our resident assistants, who are students that are working in the residence halls and helping students make the connections, work through difficult conversations. And there's also something in the chat that I think is part of that, and Kathleen is part of the panel as well. I got locked out of my dorm room. I don't know what to do. And the folks at Panther Central are on call to be able to assist with things like that, as well as our team in Res Life, which they can speak more to. Text of the first day, where did you put my vitamins? There's going to be a lot of those types of like, I can't find this, I can't do this, because it is transitioning into that cheerleader role where previously you may have been doing those things and they're not able to find what it is. The great thing about Pitt is we're in the middle of Oakland, so there's always those opportunities that if they need to run to CVS, if they need to go to Walgreens, it's a quick walk away. So I think that our students are trying to figure things out on their own, where they're used to having things easily at their disposal because you were providing that. So I think that those are definitely things that are happening. But again, as I mentioned, all staff, faculty are readily here to help and assist.
There are lots of great ones. There's some about finding friends from the New York City area, other areas that they are from. I do need Jim to follow up on this one. It says, I love you. I really like finding all of the little unicorns. Jim, we need to know if you hid little unicorns all around your students' room, because that's amazing. So we need a follow up in the Q&A on that one, Jim. We've got lots of ones about eating and waking up for the first time in the residence hall.
Yeah, so again, I think that students are adapting. They have this flexibility of their schedule. Some have, their days start at 8. Some of their days might not start until 11. I will say that that is like an important conversation that you might want to have with your student. Are the times that your classes are scheduled for, do they make sense? Does it work for you? Setting alarms, actually being independent and getting up since no one is waking them up. Our staff does not wake up your student. So please know that this is the time that they are independent, and that, there's times that setting the multiple alarms may be very helpful, but it is their responsibility to get up and go to class. So I think that's helpful. And once they start classes on Monday, I think it's good whenever students have that buddy system, when they start to see students that are in the same classes with them, they start walking to class together, they utilize each other as that peer-to-peer support to get to class and to go to class on time. That first week of classes, and I believe Summer, you might talk about this, is our drop add week. So drop add is the time that students can change their schedule without any financial penalty, and find things that actually might work a little bit better for them if that class is available. So that is a time to really think about their schedules, the timing, and figure out what's going to be best.
Thank you, Lorraine. So many buttons to find all at one time. To advance the
Right.
slides, turn my camera back on, to unmute myself, and I'm still reading all of the Q&A responses. The amount of you who share that your student just checked in and said good night or I love you has me glad I was off camera, like blotting my eyes here. That's wonderful. Lots of big emotions, and they're so real, and we're thankful that you've shared. There's also lots of good questions that we'll get to in the panel, but we do have a follow-up that I personally needed from Jim, that they hid 60 tiny glow-in-the-dark unicorns all over her room, and she's found about half so far. She doesn't know how many there are total. I love this so much. That is so fun. That's so fun. Oh my goodness, that just makes me smile. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for following up too. I needed a resolution. I was gonna have to email you after to find out what this was. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lorraine. And I will also share the Office of the Dean of Students contact information in just a few
Great.
slides if you would like to get a hold of Lorraine.
Thanks, Summer.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right, so we will keep that Q&A open. I recognize the chat's disabled, so sorry about that. Just keep typing things in the Q&A that you need your answers to or you'd like to share, and we'll keep moving towards our panel. So Lorraine is the interim dean of students, oversees all of student affairs. And so I just wanted to really give you a snapshot of what the Division of Student Affairs looks like and entails, because it is a large division supporting all things that happen for students outside the classroom. It also includes the Office of Parent and Family Resources, so my office, and the work that we do to support you as parents, grandparents, family members, and support systems of our students. But wanted to share that some of the teams that our offices are on: the student experience team, which has new student programs that brought you Welcome Week that your student is currently still experiencing, parent and family resources, student conduct, staff diversity, equity, and inclusion, marketing and communications, and off-campus student services. We have our student community and involvement team that includes student unions, they're in student engagement. That does not include our student unions. Our student community and involvement team includes our Office of Inclusion and Belonging, fraternity and sorority life, and lots of ways to get involved in student opportunities and student engagement and development. We've got our student wellness team, which includes the pharmacy, student health services, and the counseling center, all conveniently located in Nordenberg Hall. And we'll hear from some of our colleagues in student health services on the panel, and campus recreation. We've got our student engagement and professional development team, which involves student unions, our Office of Student Involvement, which we'll hear from someone in that office on our panel as well, and student organizations, and then our central office, so business and operations for student affairs. And so when you reach out to the Office of Parent and Family Resources, a lot of times I will get you connected or resource you to one of those offices or teams within student affairs to best support your student and get those answers that you're looking for. But let's look ahead. Lorraine already covered a little bit of this about our add drop period, but I would like to just share a few things you might want to note on your calendar or double check with your student. The first is to please make sure your student is compliant with our immunization policy. Your student needs to log in to their my.pitt.edu, type in the search bar for Student Health Services portal. If they need to upload anything, they should do that there or request an exemption. If they are compliant, it will say compliant. All right, add drop deadline for classes, which means your student can change their schedule without any academic or financial repercussions prior to this date, is Friday, February 6th. That date will come so quickly, so please make sure that your student has their schedule finalized, has met with their advisor if they need to make any changes, and feels good about what their class schedule looks like. And family weekend, November 8th through the 10th, we would love if you would save the date. Registration will open in September. We will begin sending out notifications about registration prior to it opening so that you don't miss it via our family newsletter, which you can sign up for right on our website, parents.pitt.edu. And now a great slide to take a photo of or follow up later, and we would be happy to send you our slide deck, is our Office of Parent and Family Resources. You can reach us at any time at parents@pitt.edu. The Office of the Dean of Students, if you'd like to reach out to Lorraine or her team, and our Pitt Concern Connection, which is a concern hotline for all of the Pitt community to utilize. If you have a concern, your student has a concern, a faculty or staff member, an alumni has a concern, you're able to Google Pitt Concern Connection. It'll take you right to the website, text your concern, or call in your concern to have any concern evaluated from that office that you may have on campus. And now I would ask that our Q&A panelists take some time to turn your cameras on. That Q&A is open, but I will keep this slide up so that you can see our representatives from dining, housing and Panther Central, residence life, Pitt Police, Counseling Center, Student Health Services, financial aid, and student involvement. So we have lots of experts to be able to answer your questions. So I will pull that Q&A and you can just keep asking those questions. We will try to get all of those things answered. We'll answer as many as we can live, and some we'll have to type the answers to. All right, let's start off. Kathleen, is there a Pitt shuttle to the airport during the holidays? And can you also then lump in buses home for the holidays?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kathleen Kyle. I work in housing and Panther Central. Couple of things. All of the Port Authority buses for the city of Pittsburgh, students are able to ride those with their university ID. One of those is called the 28X Airport Flyer, and that does pick up right on campus and take your student to the terminal at the Pittsburgh airport. So have them check that out again. Yeah, Google that information, get that information online. In terms of University of Pittsburgh shuttles, I saw a question about that, so I'll touch that one as well. Yes, University of Pittsburgh shuttles do run various loops around campus and drop off and pick up at different points. Again, www.pts.pitt.edu is the parking transportation website. It has all of the interactive shuttle maps, lets folks know estimated time of arrival and pickup. So that's a really useful tool there as well. I think someone said, my student doesn't feel very comfortable. Have them reach out to their RA, definitely, and say, hey, when we go to X, Y, or Z thing, can we take the shuttle together? That would be great, and a good way to kind of get on for the first time. But those university shuttles, you have to have a university ID to get on or off of them. So again, those are only used by members of the Pitt community. And then last but not least, Buses Home. Buses Home is a service that is coordinated through Parking and Transportation Services, and they use charter buses to go to various common locations like King of Prussia Mall from the University of Pittsburgh for major holiday breaks like Thanksgiving, winter break, spring break. And again, information typically comes out around the 1st of October about that. An email will be sent, but you can also keep an eye again on that same parking and transportation website for all of your up-to-date information on buses home from the university. I think I covered all three.
Yes, excellent. Thanks, Kathleen.
Yep.
Lieutenant Riley, our next question, I know you were prepared for this one. How do parents sign up for text alerts if anything were happening on campus from a safety standpoint?
Yes, so if you go to our website, safety.pitt.edu/subscribe/alerts, you can sign up for Rave Guardian, which is a really great app for Pitt students. You can also sign up for ENS Alerts, which would explain to you an in-progress emergency on campus, and your student can subscribe to that and also add family members. My husband's actually added on to it, so he knows to leave me alone if there's stuff going on campus. And then also crime alerts. So I'm actually going to answer this in the chat for the website, but safety.pitt.edu is where you can find that resource.
Thank you, and thanks for putting that in the Q&A as well, so there's a link. Our next question is for Nick. Can you please explain meal plan versus dining dollars versus Panther funds versus any other accounts we may need to put money into? Is Panther funds for laundry? We're a little bit confused. Nick, break it all down for us on those different funds.
Absolutely. So my name is Nick Pagano. I am the Director of Marketing for Pitt Eats, the dining services on campus. So first I'll break down the meal plan. So the unlimited meal membership has 4 components to it, 4 main ways to pay and interact with the meal plan. So first there is the unlimited swipes into the dining halls. So that's the eatery and the perch. Your student can go in and out of those dining halls as many times as they want throughout the day. Second is meal swap. So the meal swap is essentially $12 worth of, lunch money that they get assigned to their account, 1 per day. So those don't stack up. So if you wait 7 days, you don't have 7 meal swaps at the end of that. It's 1 per day. And that can be used at any of the dining locations that Pitt Eats operates. A full list of those is available on our website. That's dineoncampus.com/Pitt. Next is dining dollars. So this is where probably the confusion comes in, dining dollars versus Panther funds. Dining dollars is a currency that's part of the meal plan that's strictly used for dining locations. So you can think of that as money to use at the markets to buy some snacks, a bottle of water or soda. You can use that at the coffee shops, and really you can use that anywhere that also accepts meal swap. So for example, one of the questions, and this comes up about meal swap a lot, you have $12 to use at any dining location. What if I go over? So say, they purchase something that's worth $15. So they'd use their meal swap. There'd be a $3 balance left on that. It can come out of their dining dollars. So the main perk of dining dollars is just an added convenience, having a little bit of money to spend around various dining locations on campus. Those can also be reloaded. So the easiest way to do that, honestly, is just to Google Pitt dining dollars, and it takes you directly to that page. But it's in the My Pitt under housing and dining. And then lastly, there is flex swaps. So flex swaps are the guest passes that are included with the plan. There are 10 of those per semester. So those can be used to take friends and family into the dining hall or get them a meal at any of our dining locations. They don't have to use them on guests. You can just use that as 10 extra meals, for yourself if you'd like to, but those are also included. Panther funds, on the other hand, are more generalized currency, like mainly used for laundry and some other things. I can also let Kathleen talk a little bit about that, but I would say the main difference is that dining dollars are specifically to be utilized as part of the meal plan versus Panther funds are a little more of, general purchasing around different areas of campus.
I think the only thing I'll add is we do utilize Panther funds for laundry. I think I saw a question in there about that as well. And you can load Panther funds on the Panther Central website via phone. And again, if someone says how much, it kind of depends on how much your student will do laundry. Are you local? Are you not? How much are they coming home? So I can't really speak to that. Panther Funds, again, it was originally created as a way, you know, before Venmo became real popular, things like that, as an easier way to potentially get an allotment of cash or spending money to your student. It's declining balance. You can use it. It's not needed for anything other than laundry, right? So Panther Funds is completely optional program. And again, you can learn some more about that on the Panther Central website.
Thank you, Nick and Kathleen. Nick, I'm going to keep you on the spot. We have someone looking for some dietary options. Comment is, my daughter is a vegan, not a lot of options so far for her. Let's help that
Sure.
student find food.
Absolutely. So I would say the first thing that I would do is visit the Pitt Eats website again. So that's dineoncampus/Pitt. So we have a tab on there titled What's on the Menu. So from that page, you can go to any dining location. So let's say specifically, we're going to go to the eatery and we're going to go to lunch. So we'll see everything that's on the menu for that day. And each item is going to have a identifier next to it. So it's 2 letters. So for example, if we're looking at vegan or vegetarian, that would be V or VG. And there's also a key at the bottom that shows you what all of those different identifiers mean. So at each location, we try to offer at least one vegan or vegetarian option. So I can see on there are a few or quite a few available today. And I will say our location farm stand is currently we're running a limited menu there because you know, we're still having that station finalized and ready to open. That station is getting a full launch next week, but that is intended to be our full service plant forward you know, dining location at the eatery. So you'll see lots of different vegan options being you know, presented there daily. But even retail, looking at some of the other locations around campus that MealSwap is used at, we like to have at least one vegan option available on each of those menus. So they're definitely out there, and I know, like, you know, whenever students do have dietary restrictions, it is unfortunate. Sometimes you have to look a little bit harder to find certain things when it comes to vegan, avoiding gluten, things like that. And that's why we also have a registered dietitian on staff. So her name is Lindsay Wilson. She's available for consultations for any student that's on a meal plan, totally free of charge. So her email is dietitian@Pitt, and I can drop that in the chat or the Q&A here, just so that everyone has access to that and do a quick copy and paste for that. But yes, thank you.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you also for including the information about the dietitian. Amanda, our next question is, my student missed her RA floor meeting. Where can she get the information about the meeting? Is she responsible for taking out her trash, and if so, where? But Amanda, could you also elaborate on how can a student best utilize an RA as their resource?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Summer. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Reese. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as the director of the Office of Residence Life, and happy to chat about the resources that my staff provides, but particularly the phenomenal resource that exists in our resident assistants on campus. So to first answer your question, if they miss the meeting, no stress, they can talk to their RA. The RAs are the ones who facilitate all of those meetings and can go over the information. And the information in that meeting can get pretty specific, like where can you take your trash out on your particular floor or building, but also talks a little bit more about how we build community, how we set community expectations, and how that particular floor or wing is going to work together as a community to talk about setting some expectations about how they will best live in space together. So the short answer to this particular question is have your student talk to their RA. But that's also a really great standard answer for you as a Pitt parent or family to first encourage your student when they have a need, particularly when they're living on campus. Resident assistants are amazing resources who know a little bit about a whole lot of things. So an RA is a great first step if you have a question who can get you to the right place on campus or the right person on campus. They're also the people who I saw some questions about room changes, and I saw some questions about roommates. Your RA is a great person, your student's RA is a great person to have those first conversation with, whether that conversation is, I want to change room because my roommates and I aren't getting along, or because, I don't know how to connect with my roommates, or my roommate seems to already have some friends. How can I get better connected? A resident assistant is a phenomenal resource for your student to start with, and could help your student find voice and find advocacy on those spaces, but also understand resources that the university has to be able to assist them in this transition. I loved reading the information that came through that talked about their first nights, waking up in our residence halls. I know that's probably really hard for you all, but it makes me feel phenomenal that they're already thinking about this as their place and space to be for the next year, and the impact that that's having on their Pitt experience. So love all reading all of that, but truly what is now a very long-winded answer to your question is the RA. The RA is just a great resource that they can go to for answers to lots of things.
Thanks, Amanda. I think this question is going to be for Alyssa, but this is a unique question and a one I haven't seen very often, so I'd like us to be able to answer it so we all have the answer. This parent has shared that they are PA residents, their student is on a healthcare journey and will stay engaged with their healthcare team using virtual visits. Are there spaces students can reserve for engaging in virtual healthcare visits or offering privacy from roommates or others? So I will take that from anyone who can provide the answer, or if we can commit to finding a private space for this student.
Yeah, Lissa Weddick, Medical Director at the Student Health Services, she, her pronouns. And we have the ability to do, like when students need infusions, we're able to reserve a room, but it wouldn't be very comfortable to be in one of our exam rooms. So I don't know if there might be other spaces that a student would be able to reserve for privacy. I know that historically, when I've had, back when we were doing more stuff virtually, a lot of times students would just work something through with their roommate and just say, hey, I'm going to be having an appointment with my doctor. Can I just have the room for an hour? So sometimes there's like a little bit of a negotiation point. I'm not sure if maybe in the library there might be some private rooms. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's on from UCC. I see Bernadette. I don't know if Bernadette has any other thoughts.
Nope, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking about Hillman Library has some
Yeah.
spaces available that students can reserve. I do know some of the spaces though have glass doors, and so they're pretty open, and some of them are more closed. So it might be worth taking a peek over at Hillman to see what spaces do have that privacy available. And that's something that students will often utilize the Hillman Library website to go and reserve those spaces.
Great. Thank you both. Bernadette, this next question is actually for you. We have a question, who helps students with mental health? And so lots to cover in the counseling center.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. So, hello everyone. My name is Bernadette. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am the Associate Director of Outreach at the University Counseling Center. And so, I guess the short answer to that question is the University Counseling Center can help students with their mental health. We provide a lot of clinical services, on-demand services, as well as outreach services. So any student who is interested in connecting with our services, the first step is for them to use our drop-in services. They can do that one of two ways. They can either come to the counseling center. We're located in the second floor of Nordenberg Hall. They can come by Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and have a same-day appointment with one of our clinicians to talk about what their needs are and come up with a plan for next steps, whether that's with our counseling center services or a community resource. We also offer virtual services, so students are able to give us a call. They can meet with us from their dorms or another private space. And again, same exact thing. They have those same day appointments. They can talk with one of our clinicians and get a plan in place for themselves. At the counseling center, we offer individual care, group therapy, some specialty services. as well as psychological assessments. Those are offered for a fee, but all of our other services are free for students. And of course, are confidential for our students as well. We also have some community services like workshops, consultation spaces, and peer support spaces as well. So we have a lot of different resources. I'm happy to share our website in the chat if you all would like to take a look at it. You can get a better idea of all the different resources that we have.
Thank you so much, and thank you for providing the website so take a comprehensive look at everything offered by UCC. Devon, this next question is for you. The question is specific, but I'm hoping maybe you can give us a broader overview about selecting how to best get involved. The question says that our student is debating on playing a club sport or joining a fraternity. So both a large time commitment and a great way to get involved. Can you talk a little bit about how first-year students can really take a look at all of the options for involvement?
Yeah, there are a number. Listening to the question, I want to make sure I'm giving specific insight too. My name is Devon Vincent Bryan. I use he, him, and I serve as the Director of Involvement in Student Unions. There are a few elements in that portfolio, but primarily I oversee our student unions, the William Pitt Union, the O'Hara Student Center, our arts initiatives and programs, our large-scale events, such as Bigelow Bash, Fall Fest, some of the things that your students will see this year, and overseeing all 800 plus clubs on campus. The first thing your student will see is this weekend, the Involvement Fair. It'll be in the Pitt, and they have spent some time in that facility already. All of our clubs don't fit in the Pitt, so we'll have about 300 to 400 of them present. But the goal is for them to have access to the 8 different categories of clubs that are on campus, just to get a flavor of things. I would also encourage all students to consider club involvement as they would auditing a course, which means before you commit, visit, right? Through Experience Pitt, they can connect with all of our active clubs through just one click. They can go to a game, they can just kind of watch, they can pop into a general interest meeting. There is no need to have to make that decision at this juncture. There's lots of time between now and then. First-year students also can't actually join a fraternity or any of our FSL-oriented organizations during their first semester as a first year. We want them to ground themselves in this place and this space, understand classes and all the other things we've been discussing today. So there's something we call defer recruitment. So similarly, they can visit a general body meeting, they can connect with the leaders of organizations, they can start asking some questions, but that choice need not be made within the first 6 weeks and beyond, really for the entire semester. So the Involvement Fair is a good first stop this weekend. It's knowing that they don't have to commit in order to visit. And then if they want to sit with someone and really dive into their interests and weighing opportunities, our office maintains what we refer to as a student involvement specialist role. That's really another peer, returning student who can sit, listen, and comes from an experience of a wide breadth of opportunities on campus and makes some maybe direct recommendations of how they may want to tackle their getting engaged as their first few steps. That office is located on the first floor of the William Pitt Union, room 119. It's also down the hall from my office. So if your students is in our facility and they'd like to stop in, we'd be happy to meet with them, set up an appointment, and really help them think through their choices and options. But no pressure, no stress. It's all about kind of feeling it all out in the first few weeks and really into the first semester.
Thanks, Devon. Lisa, we have a question about where do we send FERPA and HIPAA release forms? Would you be able to take medical release form questions and then I'll provide a resource for the FERPA release form?
Yeah, so I know a lot of times parents will come in with very carefully signed documents so that we can communicate with parents every time that the student is seen at the health center. And I always have to be the bearer of bad news who says we cannot accept these legally. So what it boils down to is that when your student comes onto campus, this is their unique opportunity to start being healthcare advocates for themselves. Meaning that in my bias is I would never want somebody to feel like they couldn't come in and see us because they were anxious about the concept that some of their private information might be shared with a parent. And I know that parents sometimes get anxious about the concept of if there's something that happens to their child, and that would be an emergency room transport, so that wouldn't even involve us at all. In addition, any time that I am, and pretty much all of the clinicians here do the same thing, anytime we are sending a student to the emergency room or have a concern about a student that they're pretty ill and we're going to be, hanging on to them for a little bit, we always pretty much end up talking to a parent. I'll say to the student, hey, I'm concerned this could be, something with your appendix. I really want you to go to the emergency room to get a further evaluation. Can we call a parent? Usually often the parent is already, they're on speed dial. And so then we are happy to involve and include the parents in anything like that. So I don't think there should be any anxiety that things are going to be happening without your knowledge.
Thank you, Lissa. And then for the FERPA form, that form can be completed and submitted by your student to the registrar's office, and they can receive that form on the registrar's website, registrar.pitt.edu. Lissa, while I have you and Bernadette, there's a question about medication management and a psychiatrist on staff. Are you able to provide information about medication management from a psychiatrist?
Yes, so it's kind of going to be a case-by-case situation. So all of us who work, the clinicians at Student Health Services we are primary care providers, and a huge part of what we do is management of uncomplicated depression and anxiety. So a lot of times we end up being prescribers for students who need those sorts of medications. There are times that somebody needs, somebody who is psychiatric. We are currently in the process of working through some different virtual options to be able to provide that to the students, but that'll be kind of like a case-by-case basis. But I just encourage people to call. Our nurses have a whole triage algorithm, and we will absolutely do our best to make sure that a student gets what they need.
Thank you so much. Dr. Weddick, I'm just going to keep you on the spot for our next question, of course, about health insurance. We get lots of questions about health insurance. This one specifically is, I would like to know about medical insurance if it's out of state, how it would be covered in any case of emergency.
Yeah, so that's case by case. And so that's one of the things that, I know I went through this, my daughter's in school in Tennessee, and so I'm like, well, what'll be covered? What can we do? This and that. So you have to call your insurance and you have to say, my child is attending the University of Pittsburgh. And the kind of the key distinction is, so a lot of times, when I think of Kaiser in particular for folks that are from the West Coast, and Kaiser's like, we'll cover emergencies only. And that's great that they'll cover that, but it's challenging if they come in and see me and I want to get a chest x-ray, but I can't really do that because I don't want to incur cost. So it's really worthwhile to call, talk to your insurance, figure out what they will and will not cover. The things that, what I always say is the things that we do in student health, we do bill insurance, but because we're care driven, not profit driven, we're never going to be the ones that are sending big, nasty bills to your student. It's really just when I need to get further imaging or we need to do something outside that is not emergency that it becomes a little bit of a friction point. So that's why I always say it's worthwhile to call and have those answers before the need arises.
Thank you so much. I see that my colleagues are answering some questions behind the scenes, getting you some of those links. I'm not sure if anyone's able to answer this or has great knowledge about it. There's a question about, is there a list of preferred private car services that students may utilize to get to the airport? And is there an Amtrak service? I'm going to throw that out to the panel. There is an Amtrak service. I am unsure about the preferred private car services. or if anyone knows more specifics about Amtrak. I'm going to leave that one open for a second. Don't everyone unmute all at one time.
We don't have a list of private car services. Again, Kathleen mentioned earlier, the 28X truly is most of our students' mode of transportation to the airport for sure. Certainly our students choose Uber, Lyft, but the 28X really does provide a nice flyer service to the airport, and that is what our students most often choose to use, but we do not maintain or cultivate a list of other private shuttle services.
Thank you, Amanda. Our next question is, what is a family weekend? I love this question since I coordinate our family weekend, so I'm going to take that. Family weekend is an opportunity for us to invite our families, our parents, our support system, siblings to campus. Normally held during the fall semester. So this year it's November 8th through the 10th. It is registration based. Registration will open in September. And it is just an opportunity for you to experience campus with your student through a variety of programs. Everything is optional. As you register for Family Weekend, you'll see that you can sort of build your own package, so you can decide what your family wants to do, whether you'd like to attend the football game and the tailgate, if you'd like to do some of our arts encounters, if you would like to sort of choose your own adventure and you just want the swag that we offer, there's a package for that also. You'll get to an opportunity to dine in some of our eateries and places that your student eats on campus and really explore the campus through their lens. If there's anything I want our families to know, because we get this question a lot, is like, what if we can't make Family Weekend? We want families to know that you are always welcome on Pitt's campus. You can come visit anytime that you want. Please don't feel the pressure. If you're like, we have a family wedding that weekend, we can't get there, we're not able to travel that weekend, whatever it is, do not feel the pressure to have to come on Family Weekend. It's a great option if you'd like to come. It's definitely a busy time. I'm talking busy, like welcome week busy time. Parking is limited and it gets really busy and really exciting and full of energy, and Pittsburgh in the fall is beautiful. But please don't feel the pressure. Do what works best for your family, and please feel free to visit our campus anytime because you're a part of our Pitt family also. I had marked another question for... All right, Dr. Weddick, another one for you. Could you explain how student health services work? For example, basic needs like getting annual vaccines or to get a quick assessment done. Is it walk-in or by appointment?
Yeah, so we operate by appointment just because it makes it way better for somebody to come in and know when their appointment is because our students are busy. So generally speaking, I always say we're kind of like your primary care provider away from home. We provide, general medicine. I'd highlighted mental health care. We also do full gynecologic services. So your students can really come here for everything. And yes, we absolutely do immunizations. We already have our flu shots, but we're not giving them yet because it's a little bit early. We will be now getting COVID shots now that that was approved by the FDA. So there's kind of a mix of some ability to schedule online. But then if there's something that doesn't work, then we recommend that students call in to get an appointment. Our mornings tend to be pre-scheduled, and then we reserve our afternoons for our same day slots. So what we want to be able to do is that if somebody calls and says, I have a sore throat, that we're able to see them. In addition, we do have it's called a Cepheid machine that does rapid viral PCR testing. So we have the ability through doing a nasal swab to test for COVID, flu A, flu B, and RSV, which is incredibly useful with respiratory season. But yeah, pretty much, I think that hopefully should answer everything. Yeah, we do it all, and we're happy to see it everywhere.
Wonderful. We're getting lots of questions about what type of insurance you accept and some other information. Lisa, if you'd be able to provide the website for student health services, it's so comprehensive.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, where do I put that? Just in the Q&A?
I think you can respond to their question right in the Q&A. It's one of the last questions if you scroll
Yeah,
down.
and what I always say with insurance, we're happy to take everybody. It's, I'm like, we'll play with everyone. So even though we are University of Pittsburgh, it's not that we're only UPMC. We want to accept everyone. It's just that some insurance won't play nicely with us. But yeah, let me find the website and I'll put that in.
Wonderful. I'm going to answer a couple of these quick questions. Are there family options for homecoming? That's when we're coming out. Awesome. We are excited that you're coming out for homecoming. It's another really exciting time, lots of energy on campus. We do not have any family or parent specific programming during homecoming, but there's lots of options for you to attend student programs with your student during your visit. And again, it's a really exciting time. And then the other question, do any hotels offer discounts for parents of Pitt students? On our, if you Google Pitt, literally University of Pittsburgh hotels, you'll be able to see all of the hotels in the region, some within walking distance, some much more within driving distance. We will have some blocks of discounted rooms during family weekend, but they will be limited. But all of the links to hotels around us are right on that website. If you just Google University of Pittsburgh hotels, it's part of our Anthony Travel Services. Melissa, I have another question for you. You're at the top of my screen, so this makes lots of sense. But lots of questions for you. What happens if a student tests positive for COVID?
Yeah, so we're just adhering to CDC recommendations, which is that the student is asked to mask and, as much as possible, isolate while they are in their acute illness. When they are improving, and that is subjective largely, so I'm feeling better, but also not having a fever without the use of fever lowering medication, then they are able to go out and about and return to classes with the ask that they continue to adhere to good masking for 5 days. So it is, so, a lot of times parents are like, well, how is that going to work in towers? They, share a room. And so a lot of that is just going to be, this is what we've been doing for the past couple of years. So a lot of it is just kind of working with the roommate. Sometimes the roommate will be like, well, I know I was already exposed, because what we know from COVID is that you are shedding virus before you develop symptoms and test positive. So it's kind of like the horse is already out of the barn. But if a roommate's like, I don't want to be more exposed, then they can, work with other people to sleep on a floor somewhere to try to sort of work that out. I would say that fortunately we've not had, a ton of issues with that sort of model on the campus. And so it seems to work out. And of course, everyone will get vaccinated.
Thank you. Jessica, this question is for you. It might be a bit specific, and this person might need to follow up privately with financial aid, but maybe you can give us an overview. This question is that my son still doesn't have his updated financial aid package. We submitted a special circumstance request in May. When will we know if he's getting more aid?
Yay, I got a question. Yes, that is a very specific question, so I'm not able to say. I will tell you in general, as you are probably aware, we've had a lot of upheavals in financial aid this past year, but we have started just recently been able to start processing those special circumstances. So we have started processing those. So if you haven't heard anything, I would advise to email our office and ask for an update, like provide the student's ID number and ask for a specific update on your situation. And our email is just finaid, FINAID, so finaid@Pitt. But yes, just please follow up with our office, because we have started processing those at this point, and we can get you a better timeline.
Thank you so much. Jessica, just in case I missed it, what is the best way to contact financial aid?
Our email is a great way. And again, that's finaid@pitt.edu. Or you can call our office, and that if you want, I would say for something that specific, like you're looking for an update, in email would be better. But you can also call our office, and I can put that in the chat, but it's just 412-624-7488. And that's option 2 to get to financial aid. But email or phone call is perfectly great.
Thank you. You've got another question, so we'll just
Oh my
keep you
gosh, we're on a roll.
updated.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for your question.
I know, I'm excited.
When will Parent Plus loans be applied to student accounts?
Yeah, great question. It just depends on the timing of when you applied, assuming at this time of year, as you can imagine, it is our busiest time to be processing loans of any kind, but plus loans included. So we do ask at least like 10 business days for us to receive that application, get it on the account, have it dispersed. So if you just applied within the last 10 days or so, give us just a little bit longer. But if it's been longer than that, reach out, because maybe we're missing something like a promissory note or something like that. And we can tell you what needs to be done to get that to get pushed through, because we have started disbursement. So you should be seeing those if you haven't already. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Our time is quickly coming to an end. So we're going to end on this question, but lots of contact information is responded to in the Q&A if you're able to find those links, or as always, email parents@pitt.edu and I will get you any of those links or resources. But this is so fun and anyone on the panel can take it. There are so many Pitt apps. What are the top 5 apps you recommend students absolutely should have? And since I'm unmuted, I'm going to go ahead and share that the Pitt mobile app and Experience Pitt would be, I don't have a top 5. Those would be my top 2 apps. Oh, and the Rave Guardian app. Oh, you're right. Now I could just keep listing, but I'm going to mute myself and let everyone else share. What do you think are some of those top apps that you want to make sure the student has and is best utilizing the technology?
I will go ahead and jump in real quick. I will recommend the Transact mobile app. So that is the mobile dining app that's available at most Pitt Eats locations, mostly retail. But that's, we're all on, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, things like that. So that's the, ability for students to place mobile orders at the dining locations. So definitely recommend downloading that app. And it's also the app that gets you access to our Amazon Just Walk Out Market.
Summer, you named it, but I will echo it and I will defer to my colleague, Lieutenant Riley. The Rave Guardian app is a phenomenal safety resource that I recommend truly every student has on their phone. Is a great way not only to communicate with folks who are also invested in their safety and well-being, but to then also get connected to our Pitt police as well. So I would definitely, if there was all the apps we've named are really great, highly also recommend. But if there was one that I would tell students to absolutely prioritize, particularly as they begin to navigate Oakland for the first time, it would be the Rave Guardian app. And Lieutenant Riley, if I've missed anything.
No, thank you for adding that. What our students don't know after having a really great welcome week is they don't know that it's important to have our phone number as Pitt Police in their phone. We listen to City of Pittsburgh Police Channel 3 when people do call 911, but if you go into that Rave Guardian app, there's multiple ways to communicate with us. We have our own dispatch team, so they can report a crime anonymously, different types of crime, something suspicious. They could report a traffic concern, but also there is a button to call 911 and call Pitt Police. And on the back of their Panther ID card, the phone number for us is 412-624-2121. And again, all that information for resources in the Rave Guardian app.
Thank you all so much. We really timed that down to the minute. It's turning 1 o'clock right now. So I appreciate us making the most of our hour together. Want to remind you that the Office of Parent and Family Resources is always here for you, parents@pitt.edu. I'll be able to connect you to all of the colleagues that you've seen today, as well as any other resources on campus to best support your student. But we're so happy that you are here as part of our Pitt family. And a big thank you to our panelists for spending what is probably their lunch with us today. This webinar will be recorded and posted to the Pitt Student Affairs YouTube channel in just a couple of days. Thank you so much and have a great day.